screen is visible, but that whiteboard
No,
gone.
it's
1 minute. What happened? Suddenly whiteboard crashed on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, all that thing which I wrote is gone. Sorry, I don't know why, but all of a sudden my whiteboard software crashed. I don't know what happened. Okay. So, okay. So we saw SAP had to come up with SAP UI5 for building web applications. Okay. So and SAP UI5 was based out of XML, JavaScript, and then using this XML, they could generate HTML5, and along with CSS, you can develop web applications. Okay. And then we saw that for building web applications, MVC was used, the concept called MVC, model view controller, and the view was all generated based out of XML, which in turn generates HTML5. Okay, HTML5 and CSS together. So basically with SAP UI5, SAP gave UI elements and the code for those UI elements using XML, and then do this. And for model, we were talking about OData, how OData came in. Before OData, there were many other protocols, web-based protocols, but then they all lacked the additional things which OData come, which was like filtering, sorting, and querying, and those kind of functionalities were missing in different other protocols. But later on with OData, which was developed by Microsoft, and it was an open standard, so everybody started adopting it. SAP also started adopting it, and they that's where came with when this OData came in. And then with this MVC, this SAP UI5 and OData when came in, SAP got in a new component called as SAP NetWeaver Gateway. Okay, with which you can build OData models, and then also with which you can build UI5 applications. Okay, so that would have all their all this UI elements and all different version libraries of. So every SAP UI5 has different versions. So basically, it has different libraries of the UI elements. Different versions will have different libraries, or they would have enhanced on the basic ones. Okay, and then with that you can do the views, and with for the controller part we use JavaScript. Okay, so people had to, whoever were in ABAP world, wanted to become web application side of it, so they had to learn themselves these JavaScript, XML, understand OData, how to do this. So it was a big industry shift. People would love to would have to do this, but then SAP realized there is some kind of resistance, because not all the people who have been in the SAP world for almost like 10, 15 years, you are telling them to learn something new. People were a bit hesitant for that. So SAP realized that, and then they said, okay, we have to do something different. So before they went in there, what they did is, all these SAP UI5 applications, when you do, you have, if you have like 10 developers in your organization, okay, and all of them are using SAP UI5, okay, to build web applications, they all will come up with their own kind of standard style of building applications, which can be possible that these they will be inconsistent look and feel among themselves. When I say inconsistent, one might have the buttons at the bottom, one might have buttons at the top, one might have buttons at the bottom. Okay, something like that. And then for every app, user has to be trained saying that, okay, for this app Now you have to know these are the way actions have to be done on the screen, and then you have to click the button here. For this app, these are the way actions have to be done, and then you have to click the button here, right? So instead of that, why don't we come up with some common standard across all the applications? And that's when came in Fiori. Okay, so Fiori is nothing but it is based out of SAP UI5. But the name Fiori is because you need to follow certain standards and layouts to build applications. Okay, so different layouts were evolved. Okay, and when different layouts which would accommodate all other kinds of all requirements from a web application point of view, there were different layouts which are created. And to make it more intuitive, when I say intuitive, the user should go in and then they should by default know where a button will be there, like how you see now in the old school GUI screens, right? If you go into any GUI screen, on the top you have the menu always. Okay, and then you have application specific buttons in this after that, and then you have all your data to be displayed right underneath. Any screen you go, it will look the same. They are coherent. So to make it intuitive, coherent applications and simple applications, SAP came up with a standard called Fiori. Okay, so whatever applications which SAP built, which were behind the scenes, it is all using SAP UI5 only. Okay, but they are following the standards, making it intuitive, coherent, and simple. They call it Fiori. Okay, when I say Fiori, you have layouts where it is like it's either a work list, okay, or a approval app. Okay, so it is just work list or a approval app, or there is one more here. I'm trying to recollect what is that. It's a just a list, I suppose. I'm not able to exactly recollect that name. So this basically any app you take, they will be laid out in this work. When I say work list, it will basically have a table displaying all, and then you will have here buttons to do selection, and then a button, one button to say go, and you display all the list here. And then if you want any additional buttons, you would just put it right on top of here. That's it. Okay, and then when you click on any one of the entry, it will take you to a page called as object page. Okay, where you can display more details. You can have details like this displayed, and then also some more tables if you want. That is this is a work list kind of thing. Then you had approval apps. So the approval apps would have a section where where they could show small information about it. So when the user clicks on it, its details will start showing up here, and the buttons to do approval or rejection, whatever it is. So that were like approval apps. I'm unable to recollect this last one, but this last one also had something very much similar, is just a list, and then you can have buttons to do download or do some other actions on it. Okay, but mostly they don't use this, but mostly it is these two, which is either approval app or a work list. So you have to use these layouts, and once you use this layout, automatically the buttons will start coming in the same place and all. So that is what Fiori came in. Okay, so then with SAP understood, okay, we have given this Fiori, this is all good on the front end. Now still that issue is left over, is people should know ABAP, with which they could build OData. OData services can be built from ABAP. Okay, and then they should also know SAP to build Fiori. So they said, okay, this is too much of a learning process for every person who is working in this SAP ecosystem. Then they came up with ABAP for Fiori. Okay, while they came up with ABAP for Fiori, they at the time they were in a S4 world, so they understood that now we have to S4 world came up with CDS. Okay, before S4 came, there was just only they came up with HANA, which was their its own proprietary database. Before HANA, they would SAP would work with any database like Oracle, or it could be SQL database or anything. But then they said they have to come up with their own database, and then they came up with HANA. You putting HANA as their database, they build their own application server, and they call it S4. Okay, and the combination of both of this is called S4 HANA. So now they have moved from ECC to S4 HANA, and S4 HANA will have its own database, so all the applications and all can be work faster and better with this S4 HANA. So when they came with HANA, so it's like any other database, it will have its own tables and all, but the way the data is going to be stored, before HANA, it was all row based. Data would get stored row based. Every time you create an entry in the database, it will get stored as a row. But later, when HANA came, they introduced column based. Data will get stored as one column. Okay, that way the querying becomes faster. So they have a different technology. I am not that kind of expert person on the Oracle database and sorry, database person. So I can't talk much about how it will become faster and all. But then they changed it to column based. When they made it column based, the querying and all became fast. So when it became column based, this thing, you cannot use your normal old school SQL. You have to have a different kind of SQL. They called it as native SQL. Okay, which was native for HANA. Okay, and then from here came CDS views. Okay, so core data services. So CDS stands for core data services. So they came up with HANA. Since it is using its own native SQL, so using this you had to build this CDS views to read the data from the HANA database. Again, write was handled differently. Okay, write was again purely native SQL, but for read they made the core data services. Why they have to come up with core data services is, in our old school way, what you even now in your ECC world, what you are guys doing is, if you get a request for a report, what do? You talk to the functional person, understand what is the output. Okay, you understand what is the selection screen, so that you can design the selection screen, and then you will ask from where the data has to be stored. So you will go and do research on all the needed table and the relationship between these tables, right? How do you join these data, or how do you create what kind of joins you have to use? Okay, whether inner join, outer join, those kind of things, all you do. And then you also, what you will do is, once you know the tables, you will query this table. Okay, query table 1, and then based on table 1 you go and query another table, another what you call, this is table 1 is nothing but an internal table. Okay, itab. Based on this you go and get the data in another table, itab 2. Okay, and then based on this, or you would loop this itab 2 and do some calculations and build itab 3, and then you use this itab 3 as output, right? This is what you do in your current typical reporting. But now, if you understand how all this has been done, right? You had your database. Okay, and then you have your application server. You queried the database, got the data in the application server, looping in the application server, you are again querying the database. Okay, getting the data into this application server as itab 2, right? First you got itab 1, and then you looped it and got itab 2. So much of data is, you're grabbing so much of data from the database, and your application server needs its own database to, or nothing but your RAM, cache, memory to store this information, right? And then you have to process this so much information, and all the calculations like summing two fields, okay, are taking the value of one field, and then using value of other field, and putting some conditions on top of it to get the value in another field 3. Okay, so many other calculations you have to do in your application server. Now what they say is, let's not do all this. That's where the concept of code pushdown came in. Okay, with which what you could do is push all this kind of operations into the database itself, and HANA database was able to do that. To do all that, then came CDS views. Okay, So that could have been done with there. Then SAP, what it understood is, now this is HANA is there. HANA, we cannot, everybody cannot learn native SQL. We have to bring everything into ABAP. So then came ABAP CDS. So then with once they had ABAP CDS, it became very easy to go into ABAP Fiori, ABAP for Fiori. So now you have ABAP CDS, okay, and then with this ABAP CDS along with BOPF, okay, combining these two, we could build Fiori applications. With CDS view, you grab the data, okay, and they introduce something called as for this data, metadata. You define metadata, and in this metadata, you do something called as UI annotations. Okay, these UI annotations will tell what UI elements needs to be generated, okay, and placed it onto the Fiori app at runtime. So you would create a CDS view to grab the data. Along with the CDS view, you create a metadata. Along with that, you'll create a UI annotations, and then using these UI annotations, UI will be created for for following the Fiori standards. The UI will be created. So they came up with Fiori ABAP for Fiori. Okay. So here you would see they would create a CDS view, and they would use one annotation called as OData dot publish true. Once you do this, that particular CDS view will be exposed as an OData. Once you have the OData, the model part of it is covered in your MVC, right? And that model itself is also coming with its own UI annotations. With that UI annotations, automatically the screen will get displayed. Now there is still a gap here. Now the gap is, okay, we have given a UI screen, we have created beautiful UI, and we can display the data. But now what if they want to do some operations on that? Okay, we cannot this with this Fiori, what happened is they have detached the operations of the front end and the back end, right? So now your front end is your browser, okay, and then your backend is your normal your application server, that is your S4 or ECC system, whatever it is, okay, which will have its own database and all. Now between these two, you are using OData, right? Now this browser from here, if suppose you want to do some operations, but when you do this operation again through OData, it will come and do something here and go. But while this operation is being done, this browser has to wait for this operation to be completed, given a message back, right? This was again becoming a hurdle, because you cannot have this while this is happening, your browser is basically stuck. You cannot do anything else on the screen, right? So that's when came the concept of state and stateless. Okay, state and stateless. In our old systems where you have GUI, okay, you have your GUI screen. You put some information and you click on this button. When you click on this button, then it goes in and the application server processes that request and it gives back the information. While this is happening, you cannot do anything on the screen. It's kind of, the screen is stuck. So sometimes if the system is slow, right, you guys would have seen that you click on it, it is running, it is running, it is running. You would have seen that three dots coming, or some circle thing coming, running, and then it comes back, right? So, and then anything, so whatever value you put here, suppose on this field you put A, the application server, your code will know that the value A is there. That's why it is called state. But with this state, what is happening is it is still consuming the resources of both the front end and the back end. So with that, with this one, when they came up with Fiori here also, they came up with this. When you apply a browser, you click on it, it is using the front end resources. When it is getting processed, you're using the back end resources also. This is becoming very intense, right? And then the purpose of being mobile and all is kind of defeated. That's when came stateless, concept of stateless. The industry evolved with web applications. Industry evolved. They wanted to do make it stateless. So with stateless, what happens is your front end is there and your back end is there. The front back end will push all your UI and UI elements and data. Everything will push. Okay, and then the connection is not there now. So the browser will render it, and any action you perform, then the connection is established. You talk to the application server, and now this front end will not wait for you to complete that. It is assuming that it takes it and it is processing it here. That's where it is becoming stateless. Okay, now to make this stateless and have the processing everything, SAP now came up with RAP. Okay, REST based ABAP programming model. Okay, so what happens in RAP? So in RAP, what you do, you have your same front end, you have your back end. Okay, front end and back end. Here all you have your UI elements. Okay, and all your buttons, whatever buttons you want, you have that. And then first from the back end, this UI elements will be rendered. Again here also you'll use OData. UI elements are render. Any action you do, the UI element, it calls the backend, performs something. While it is happening, this becomes a stateless call. The browser doesn't know or application doesn't know. So when you do to make it stateless, all this information what is on the screen are relevant information which is needed when you click on this button to perform the processing of that data. That only will be sent to the backend server. Okay, and the backend server will be applications will be smart enough. The OData service you create will be smart enough to know that, okay, some pieces of information are given. I can use that pieces of information to process this data and give you back the result. That's how it becomes stateless. Okay, so to do all this, what we had to now come up with a whole programming model around it. So that's where came the RAP. And in that you will have different, you have basically three layers. Okay, for the top one is the consumption layer. Okay, with RAP you have a web application or UI application, or you can have web API. Okay, and the bottom you have the service definition. Okay, so here you will have how the service can be. It can be you have a service definition, and this service definition using service binding. You can expose this for UI or you can expose this for API. Okay, same thing can be exposed or simultaneously or can be just kept it as different versions of it. And then what they did is here they came up with a whole data modeling. Okay, in this data modeling, at the bottom you'll have your CDS views. On top of it you will have your behavior definition. Okay, and on top of the behavior definition you will have your behavior implementation. Okay, and this behavior with this all this together will be exposed as a service definition. Okay, on top of service definition you have service binding, and this service binding will dictate whether you are using it is for API or are you using it for UI. Okay, along this is for transactional purpose. What I mean by transactional purpose, you have a screen, you display some data table, you select a particular table and you say click on this button. When you click on this button, it it goes in and gets processed with this. Okay, now to display the data you use CDS view. First grab the data and push it through this to do CDS view. Now on this data, what buttons can be there? Okay, on every button, how do you define? You define that in this behavior definition. These are called actions. Okay. And suppose this is a screen where you're displaying the data, but then after that you take them into their object page where you have some more fields and you ask them to enter some information. Once they enter in information in one of these field, you want data to be populated in this field. This is done again here using determinations. Okay. Now next, here they have entered some value. Now you want to check whether that value is valid or not. Then comes validations. Okay. All these things, what actions can be performed, what determinations can be done, what validations can be done, all these things will be defined in the behavior definition. And the code for this will be written in a behavior implementation, which is nothing but a class in which you will write the code for what should happen when an action is clicked, when an action has to be performed, what should happen when a determination is to be called, or when a validation is called. All that you will write here. And then when you final button, when you say click on it, suppose save has to happen, all that code is written in this behavior implementation. Okay. Now this is what is all good, but what is the value add it is giving me? So then SAP came up with, you have wrap applications, two flavors: managed and unmanaged. Okay. When I say managed, the save operations, okay, will be taken care by the SAP, by the framework itself. You don't have to do anything. It itself understands in which data. So with your CDS view, underneath the CDS view there will be a database table based on which your CDS view you have created. So it knows to put the data into the database table. While doing that, what other validations and all those kind of things have to happen, it will take care of itself in the managed case. In case of unmanaged, you yourself have to write it. So the developer takes care of the save operations. Now you can ask me, when do you use this, when do you use this? Okay. In scenarios where the application needs to update the data in just another standard SAP table or Z table directly, then you use managed. Okay. But in scenarios where it is not just updating data in the database, but you want to do some other operations, okay, then you use unmanaged. Okay. I'll give you one other example which I have done it, where I've used managed, where I've used unmanaged. Okay. So there was a requirement where I have to dump the data in a Z table and just display it. There I have directly used managed. It's very clear. But here in unmanaged, there was a requirement that the data is in standard SAP tables, different standard SAP tables, which are again exposed in standard CDS views. Okay. These are standard CDS views. On top of these CDS views, I created my own Z CDS views based on the requirement. Okay. And then these CDS views I have exposed as as a wrap application. Okay. And then they had this, we had our created our own custom buttons. When they click on those button, it it needs to know all this data and then call some other wrap applications business object to update the data in different other standard SAP tables. That's where I've used my unmanaged. Okay. So then this whole thing, this whole data model here, what you see is called as a wrap business object. Okay. So now coming to what are we going to see in our this whole course? This is just a intro, just giving you a background of what and how and all those stuff. Okay. So now what do we see in our whole course? We'll understand the whole architecture. We have seen it partly what it is and all. understand why it is called, how it is called as a business object, what makes it, what makes a just a data model as a business object, how to do that. We will see different flavors, what are the things possible in a behavior definition, and how to do the implementation of it. We'll see how to do a service definition and service binding. Here we'll also see how we can expose your wrap model for both web API as well as for UI, how to do that, that we'll see. Okay. And then in this part you'll see all those UI annotations, how they become very important, and how they generate the UI, that we'll see. Okay. And then we'll also see how we can expose the wrap as a API, and then we'll see what is a business object extension, how do we extend if a standard SAP has delivered some wrap application, how do we extend it. Then we'll also see something called as wrap EML. Okay. RAP EML is entity manipulation language. We will see how to consume a RAP BO in a different program. I will give you my live examples, how I did, what I did, how. Okay, in both public cloud as well as in private cloud. Okay, after this we'll also see, since now we need to upgrade to be more relevant in this world, in the ABAP world. It's not just RAP. You also need to know what is BTP. Okay, we'll understand what is BTP, and then from there we'll understand in BTP how do we do ABAP. Okay, and then from while doing this, before doing this, we'll understand what is clean core, what is clean core, and then while doing this, we'll also understand what is ABAP cloud, what is, why it comes in play, what is its relevance, and all those things. So we'll understand that with our BTP. Okay, and then as part of our course, we will get you all S4 access. Okay, we will do wrap application in S4, and then when we understand BTP and get a grasp of BTP, we'll also do a wrap application in BTP. Okay, so you guys are equipped to do work in both these areas. Okay, so now I will pause. I will let anybody have any, if you have guys have any questions, you want something more, how to do this, what to do this, where it, based on what all we spoke, you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hi, Ganesh here.
Right. Yeah, Ganesh.
Uh, Suppose we develop any RAP application in S4.
Hmm.
So where we need to publish it? Is it on Theory or how it is available on UI?
It's on S4 only. So
Acha.
what before, when ECC was there, when
Mm-hmm.
SAP came up with OData, they came up with the NetWeaver gateway. Okay, but in S4 these are all together. So
Okay.
it has inbuilt gateway and all. So there you publish your, you build the your wrap application which is built, you
Mm-hmm.
publish it in this S4 itself.
Okay. So the same thing can be done then for private cloud, right?
Yes, yes. Private cloud, yes, it can be done. Public cloud also it can
And
be done.
I mean, in that perspective, uh,
Hmm.
I mean, I want to understand the basic difference between public cloud and private cloud, how RAP will behave differently.
Perfect question. Okay. First you have to understand what is cloud. How many people understand what is cloud? When you hear the word cloud, any thoughts? Anybody have? What do you mean by cloud? Okay. I think let me give you some background. So server, when you have a server, any software, it might be SAP, or it might be Salesforce, or it might be what you call Workday. These are basically softwares, right? All this need a big hardware. Okay, which is nothing but a CPU, basically your just assume it's a laptop. But laptop is good for only one person to work. Now imagine thousands of people working on it, right? That's where comes bigger robust hardware called as servers. Okay, and this again can be application server. Means what? Only applications are posted on this when they're running. When the application is running, the runtime is on this server. Okay. Now, so what used to happen is, if any company wants to have SAP, so they will have to go ahead and procure this server, this hardware, and find a place to put this hardware, right? And then we have to build all the security needed to make sure nobody is able to hack into this server, right? This all used to be done in some physical location within the company's office, or they would find some common location where from where they can connect to these systems and put it there. Now what happened is, so when you own this server, anytime a software is to be upgraded, okay, or a hardware on this particular physical hardware has to be upgraded, you are responsible for it. Okay. So today, suppose on this application, for this server, it has its own, it will connected to some database. Okay. So today you have, suppose, let's say 1 terabyte of database. Good, all good. You're running. After 2 years, because of your so much of data is generated, you're short of this 1 terabyte. Now what you have to do, you have to upgrade this from 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte. So what you have to do to upgrade it, you have to first shut down this server. Okay, all users will be out of the system, no business cannot run it. And then when you shut down it, then you go ahead and upgrade this hardware, and then all the associated software for this will get upgraded. So it is your responsibility, you as an organization, is responsibility to manage this. Now what happened is, it was becoming so much cumbersome. Then companies like AWS, Azure, or Google, okay, they said, hey, you don't do this. We will create a place where your servers will be placed. Many such servers will be placed. Okay, and you will have access to them for that server, that piece of server, from anywhere. And we will maintain the security. We will be responsible to do the upgradation on it. Any hardware upgrade has to happen, everything we will take care of it. Now you just access it using internet. That's where this place where all this is stored is called as cloud. Okay, so you don't have to bother yourself. All you have to bother yourself is, whenever you access it, grab the data or push the data, you pay money for it. Okay, and we will maintain it, we will manage it, we will do everything for you. So that's how cloud you are. This is basically cloud concept. Okay, so you can use it everywhere. So now, real world people you guys are using is, if you guys have iPhone, okay, you know what is iCloud, right? And people who are using phones from Google, okay, you might be knowing, Google also has their cloud thing. I'm not able to recollect the name. Okay, where all your, from your phone you take pictures and all, they all get backed up here in this server. And suppose your phone, this phone is lost, you go and log into another phone, automatically this information will come into this. So now you're not dependent on that phone. The phone is gone, but the data is sitting here, it comes up from there, right? That is what is cloud. So when this came in, SAP realized, oh, we also have to evolve on it. We also have to take our S4 and put it in the cloud. Okay. Now, in this, when they put it in the cloud, there are many ways of putting it in the cloud. You, as an organization XYZ, okay, or just let's take a real name, suppose say Tata in India. You will go ahead and find a provider, cloud provider, either it can be AWS, Azure, or Google, or it can be any XYZ. You yourself will ask any of these companies to host your S4 system and manage it. You let them manage the hardware part of it, but the software part of it, you will manage it, right? That is called as private cloud. Okay. Now there is other version where SAP itself has this big thing where it puts so many S4 instances in there. Okay, and depending, one client will give one instance, other client another instance, other client. So client A will have one instance, client B will have its own instance, client C will have its own instance, and SAP manages the upgrade of the S4 system, and it also manages the hardware for it, right? And there are multiple instances where multiple clients are there. That's why this is called as public cloud. Okay, since many instances are there on this, there are some restrictions on what you can do with the public cloud. Okay, you cannot do everything and anything in public cloud. Okay, that restrictions, because of that restrictions, for us, we as a development community should know something called as in-app extension or key user extension. Okay, this has come up for building extensions on if any on these instances. So each of them is nothing but a S4 system. Okay, they might be sharing common database, we don't know. Okay, SAP will manage it, or SAP's partners will manage it. Okay, company doesn't have to bother itself from managing it. So when public cloud is there, SAP will upgrade it for every 3 months. Every 3 months it'll get upgraded. So that way what happens is the users will always the companies will always have the latest version of S4. When it is private cloud or on-prem, it is upgraded every year. Every year SAP will come up with a S4 version. Now there is no binding on that particular organization to upgrade, but SAP recommends that at least every 2 years you upgrade. Otherwise, there will be a lot of gap in the applications, software, and all. That's why they recommend here to do this every 2 years. Every year a version will come, and but then upgrading, SAP recommends to do it every 2 years. Here you do not have the control. SAP will upgrade it every 3 months. It will start every 3 months. It will upgrade. Earlier it used to be 1 month, but later on they changed it to 3 months. Okay. Now for us, for the developer community, you should know what is this key in-app extension or key user extension. Then you should also know what is something called as developer extension. Okay, and then you should also know something called as side-by-side extension. Okay, when side-by-side comes here, BTP becomes important. These two are still done on your S4 system. Okay, whereas side-by-side is done on BTP. Okay, so now when you work with in-app or key user, in-app everything will be done on that particular S4 instance itself. Okay, with developer extension in S4 public cloud, there is no GUI, so you cannot log in and look at these programs. You cannot debug these programs. Okay, there is no way you can look into these programs, all the applications, like everything will be accessed through Fiori apps. No more VA01, VA02, how you do from GUI launchpad, right? No more those. Everything will be an app, Fiori app, and you can launch it through the Fiori app itself. There's no way you are getting in there. Okay, but some situations will happen where there is a need for this developer extension. If you are interested, I can show you real world applications which I build using developer extension. Here, when you come up with developer extension, comes Eclipse ADT. So Eclipse ADT is nothing but Eclipse is a IDE, integrated development environment. Okay, so no more you don't use SAP GUI. In that you don't use your SC80 or SC38 to write a program. You will write the program in Eclipse using IDE. Okay, now to do this you have ADT, which is ABAP development tools. Okay, so you use that to build applications in S4 world. So as part of our course, We will also see how to use Eclipse. And SAP has moved from Eclipse to SAP also is now supporting something called as Visual Studio Code. Okay, we can see that also is what is Visual Studio Code, how to connect to a system, how to write the code, and those kind of things. So when developer extension comes, you use this, and this is more relevant for public cloud, but you can use this concept from here and put it in for developing it in private cloud or as a private or on-prem also. Okay. So did I answer your question,
Yeah, got it.
or was it too much of information I gave?
Yes, yes,
Please,
yes.
what, too much of information, or you got
No, 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 no.
did I
Actually, I
answer your
wanted
question?
the difference. Actually, see, I wanted to understand the difference and how
Hmm.
BTP is connected with both of them.
Okay. Yeah, BTP can be used. BTP, SAP's idea of BTP, why did SAP come up with? They are pushing this concept of clean core. What they are saying is, hey, your S4 system, okay, we are going to give you version every year. We are going to give you software version, and we want you to upgrade every 2 years. In the old old ECC times, there was no timeline like this. You can upgrade whenever you feel you want to upgrade, and now, but then SAP says to become more, to have your business more optimized and running better, we will give you faster versions. Okay, and now to make your upgrade faster, you need to keep your core clean. Now, when I say core clean, means no more implicit enhancement. I don't know whether you guys have heard the term implicit enhancement. Okay. You don't write
Yes.
a lot of Z programs. Okay. You don't copy standard programs and write a Z program. Okay. So if you want to build anything Z completely, you don't put it here in S4. You put it in somewhere called as BTP. Okay. And when you do like this becomes side by side. Side by side means the application is on the running along with S4 on the side. That's why it is called side by side. It will, this application is running here, whatever data it needs from S4, it takes it, processes it, and stores it in BTP only. Or if there is a need, it will store it in S4. That's why it is called side by side.
But
This came
how
in
it
just
is
because.
handled during upgrade? Sorry, sorry, sorry.
Okay,
How
so
it is
upgrades,
handled?
upgrades, see, upgrades, what will happen? You are upgrading your S4 system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this, what is this side by side doing? It is basically grabbing the data, it is processing here, and if there is any need, it is pushing the data only, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you're doing
Mm-hmm.
the when you're doing the upgrade, if you had to do this earlier, what you used to do, you write a baddie, or you'll write a user exit, or you'll create some Z transactions and all. When you are using
Correct.
creating Z transactions, you might use standard SAP function modules, right? Or you might be
Right.
using standard SAP classes and all. So what will happen is, if suppose in upgrade SAP changes anything here, it will impact your Z
Mm-hmm.
program, right? Now, when you impact
Exactly.
your Z program, whenever you're doing upgrade, you have to test not just standard SAP code, you have to test the Z code also, right?
Okay.
So that is
Mm-hmm.
why SAP said, hey, don't write any Z here in S4, put it in BTP. Okay, so that anything I change, these function modules, any these classes I use, or any database table, it will not impact your Z application running here. You just grab the data, process it here, and push it back to me. That's it. That's how the core will be clean, and then it will become easy. Upgrades will become easy. Anytime you do upgrade of SAP, okay, the most impacted things and the most time consuming thing is all the Z things which you do. Z programs or Z enhancements, right? All those,
Yes.
anything
Yes.
Z
Yes.
which you do will take more time to do the upgrade, and they will be the
Yes.
biggest hindrance for doing the upgrade. That's why SAP said, keep your core clean. How you can keep your core clean? You use BTP, or you use whatever I give you as extension. The key user extension I give, I will take care of it while upgrading it. Use this methodology to put any customization you want to do. Okay, did you get it?
Okay. Oh, got it.
Okay.
Means whatever SAP has provided, that much we have to use, right? In that case.
Yep.
Uh,
Not provided.
mhm.
I don't know how do I answer. What do you mean by provided?
uh, there might be, suppose you are saying no implicit enhancement. So obviously for the
Yes.
implicit enhancement, SAP will be providing something, right?
Not implicit enhancements will be gone, and you have to rely only on baddies. Okay.
Acha.
So
Okay, okay, okay.
if you want to do anything here, you just rely on baddies.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
No, it says no more Z programs. Don't create your Z programs, because when you create Z programs, there is a possibility that you will be relying on standard objects, right? Based on which you will write
Yes.
your Z program.
Yes, yes, yes.
Some many
And that
many a
body,
times you
that body is cloud ready body, something that I read that
yes
thing. Huh?
yes it will be.
Okay. Okay.
So what SAP wants you to do is, even if you are on today, if you are on-prem, right? They want to make sure anytime you decide, business wants to decide to move to cloud. Why they want to decide to move to cloud? Because they don't have to bother themselves about maintaining the hardware, software of that application server. So just put it in the cloud, then you don't have to bother, right? Anytime you want to move it, you should be able to move it. To do that, you have to have your all applications cloud ready. How can they be cloud ready? If you follow all the clean core guidelines, what SAP is giving, you follow that, then it will be all your applications will be cloud ready. So anytime you can easily switch over to the cloud. Make sense? Okay. Anybody else has any questions or any feedback?
Yes. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Amras this side.
Uh-huh.
So if I will go that course, then which topic will be covered inside the app? Which topic?
So I think I've pointed, but let me show it again. So you will see all these topics.
Is there any related to the OPS above and also OData? No.
So this with RAP itself, we will look at OData. Okay. But
Hmm.
this OData is different from what you used to do, what you're used to do in OData using SEGW. I think you have seen what is SEGW, right? In ECC world, to create
Yes. Yes.
OData, we do SEGW. We don't see
Yes.
this. We see OData in a different way. How to do it using RAP, which is basically nothing but based out of CDS view. In RAP also
Okay.
we do OData, but using CDS view, we expose out the data as OData.
We cannot go through the SCGW, right? There are
No,
no
there
need
is no
in
need
that
of
wrap.
no need
Okay.
of SEGW.
So that both OData will be different
It will be the
flow.
same things. Same, it will be the same thing. OData concept is same here. In OData, what do you have? You have entity,
Hmm.
right? And on this
Hmm.
entity, there will be CRUD operations,
Correct.
right? Right? Create, read, update, delete. Same
Hmm.
things will be there with RAP also.
Hmm.
Okay. That's what I was telling, managed, unmanaged, right? This CRUD option managed case, SAP will handle this CRUD operations. Unmanaged case, you have to write your CRUD operations, code for your CRUD operations.
Okay. And what about
Okay.
OPS?
Oops is nothing but your, yeah, we will see oops here when you create your behavior definition, behavior implementation, right? Basically, it is
Hmm.
nothing but a class. Class, whatever
Hmm.
code you write is nothing but oops, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
So whatever will be needed in the wrap that we can learn, right?
Yes, we'll learn behavior implementation. In that, it will be basically a class. In that, we'll learn how to write the code in that class and how that class will be called. Okay.
Okay.
Because if you want only ABAP, that's a different topic. Not in RAP. From this, we will use some topics in RAP. Okay, but OABAP will have different things. You'll have to understand what is an interface, what you call how to use constructor. Okay, instance based constructor, and then you static constructor. Okay, and then you have methods. Again, methods can be instance methods, static methods. What how methods are, how these methods are exposed based on public, protected, private. And then you'll understand what is what you call instance, what is this subclass concept. Okay, that all you learn when you say oops. In rap, what you'll do, basically you'll use the class concept, how to write a code in the class, and then there will be different methods, and how this you can use. The framework itself will create a class and the method. In that, you'll go and write the code. But then if your code is there in some other class, we'll see how to call that and use it here. Okay,
Okay, okay, got it.
did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hmm, yeah. Okay, anybody else have any other questions
Like what is the timings? Like any times?
on the class timings?
Yeah.
Okay. So I generally prefer to do it because I am like almost 10.5 hours behind you guys, and we all can coordinate with Raj. Give your availabilities to Raj. I'll give my availabilities to him, and then he will come up with a common time between all of us and set it up. We'll try to meet mostly three times in a week. Okay, 2 days in weekdays and might be one day on a weekend, and that should be sufficient. Our class generally between 1 to 1.5 hour, depending on the topic we are talking, or many questions you have, how many hands-on kind of things we are doing. Okay, so what as part of this course for building a app application, what I will come up with is, I will come up with a business scenario, and for that business scenario I'll explain all the business scenario, and for that business scenario how we will build applications which are wrap based. That's what we'll see. Like, I'll give you an example. What I did in the past is, if suppose there is a cricket academy. Okay, now imagine this cricket academy using SAP applications for running their business. So what you need, one application you need for player registration, right? Then you need one application for coach registration. Okay, then you need one application to build player and coach relationship or linking, right? Then you will build one more application which will give player what you call skill analysis. So here, for every player, they can put all the skill analysis, like batting rating, what is his primary skill on batting, what is his bowling skill, like that. Okay, you can come up with your own this kind of case, right?
Mhm.
Best example is, you guys all go to shopping. You guys go to the small shops. Think about how that person's business is running, right? What he needs to have a customer database, he needs to have a vendor database, he needs to have all his products, what he's selling, database for that, and the inventory of that particular products. Okay, and then one application which will be like, in which he'll put all this information together and will tell that I have sold this particular, this customer has taken this much product of this much quantity. Now, how much is my balance left over? Like that. You can think about something like this, and you can come up with that on. And for your own practice, you can use this to build all this kind of app applications. Or in your past experience, you would have built any Z programs. Okay. When I say Z programs, it would have been a mixture of both reports and module pool programs you would have done, right? To support some kind of a process. You can go and look at that and see how we can convert this into a wrap application. right? Once we walk through all the basics of it, understand everything about it, then you can see, okay, how I can take this and convert into a RAP application for your own learning. And then you can take it, put it in we provide a S4 system, you can put it in there for your learning. Once you do that, for a better learning, you can put it in BTP with using your trial account, and you can use this as a showcase within your company to show it to your managers or your to colleagues. Hey, this is how RAP application is built, this is how it looks. That's how you build your own credibility in your company, right? Any other question?
What will be the duration, like
So,
completely
Kedar,
weekly?
last question from my end. So, uh,
Hold on, let me first answer the first question. Okay, the course duration, okay, uh, is between 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, why I don't have a confirmed time? Because again, as I told you in the initial only, I keep my course very fluid based on what everybody's common requirement is. I put that topic, I can talk about that topic. Like somebody asked me, I was talking only about RAP, but somebody asked me about cloud, right? When they asked me about cloud, then we started going and talking about cloud and what is public cloud, what is private cloud, how it happens, those kind of things. Like this, we will keep it more fluid so that we can learn more things, know more things. That's why I just give a very broader timeline of 6 to 8 weeks. Good. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And by
What
any
was that
chance,
question?
if you miss any class, like even most of us are working, right? So will there be
Yeah,
any
we have.
recording?
Yes, yes, we will have recording, and then we can work with Raj. We will have one Google Drive. We'll upload all those recordings there.
Okay. And one last question, like for practice, like whatever you teach, right? Lot of things are new, and it may not allow, it is not possible to practice in our systems.
Yes, we will give
So
you access to a S4 HANA 2023 system. Am I right, Raj? 2023, right?
Yes, Kedar, yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good.
fine.
Okay. So somebody else was asking a question. I think it was Ganesh. Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I wanted to understand how many hours we need to learn these things.
Okay. Frankly speaking, if you ask me, I'll give you a very blunt answer. As many as hours possible. You want to upgrade,
Mhm,
you want to upgrade your
mhm,
skills, you want to be on the top notch, spend as
mhm.
much time as possible. There
No,
is no
so I'm
like
not
this many
talking about
hours,
the
this one.
study. I'm talking about your course duration. I mean,
Oh,
uh, exactly how many hours you are taking to deliver these things.
okay. So I said my classes will be between 1 to 1.5 hour every time we meet. Okay.
Okay.
And
Uh-huh.
that we'll try to meet 3 times in a week. Okay. And
Uh,
then we said
okay.
6 to 8 weeks. So we are talking about 20 to 24 hours
Okay.
of
Okay.
the whole
Now got it.
coursework,
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
right? But then
Okay.
also I will tell you one other thing. I personally like
Mhm,
to be available to you anytime you want, either by email or we'll create a WhatsApp group by that,
mhm,
so that you can ask more questions. If you have any other
mhm,
thoughts, any other
mhm.
feedbacks, you can put it in there. And I always
Okay.
take that in a very positive way and modulate my course according to that. That way you
Mhm,
learn, and when I am imparting you that, I learn it too.
mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I very much believe in this mantra of
Mhm,
learn, relearn.
mhm,
Okay. So learn, and I believe in relearning. When you relearn, we learn more.
mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Correct. Correct. Correct.
So to do that, I have a lot of patience to hear to what you say and
Mhm,
explain you the way you want it, you understand it. Okay. I try
mhm.
to modulate it to such a way that you understanding based on what you understood. That's why I'll ask some
Okay.
questions to help me understand how much you understood, and I modulate it according to that. So that
Okay.
while doing that, I learn it also. Okay. So I believe in this mantra
Okay.
of learn, relearn, and unlearn. So
Mhm,
sometimes we have to unlearn, That's why I believe in that mantra, and I follow that in my day-to-day practice too.
Okay, good.
Okay. Any other questions? Ratina, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Any questions from you, Ratina? Ashwini, from your side, any questions? Okay. Now, if you guys don't have any questions, please feel free to give me any feedback so that it helps me grow. Being a bit selfish. Any feedback, you liked it, you didn't like it, you can rate it at on the scale of 5. We can rate it, so that helps me change this whole the way I present it, make it more better so that everybody understands it and everybody can relate it with it. So let's take it from every individual rating. Amresh, from your side, if you feel,
Yeah.
please feel
Hello,
free.
Kedar.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you again. One question from my side. If I didn't work on the OData and OPS and also CDS view, then it will be
Mm.
easy for learn about the RAP.
Uh, yes, because here when we start wrap, right, first build one CDS view. We'll understand that CDS view, how to do the CDS view, right? So you learn about the CDS view first, right? So this concept of data modeling, which we have to learn first, right? So we'll learn that concept here in data modeling. In data modeling, to learn that concept of data modeling, we learn how to do CDS view, how to create on CDS view. What happens? Well, what are different types of CDS views? All the things we'll see here.
Okay.
Okay. I may not
Okay, sir.
make you an expert on CDS view, but I will give you all the building blocks about CDS view. What it is CDS view, how to create a CDS view, what types of CDS views are there. Okay, how in real world how they use CDS views. Those kind of examples I can give you, and from there you have to take it and then dig deep. When you go in more business requirement wise, when you get to work on different projects, you'll understand more and you'll learn. Okay. So first, remember this thing in software, there is nothing like you have learned everything. There is always something to learn. Okay.
Okay.
Did
Okay,
I
sir.
answer you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So now coming back to feedbacks, please rate this whole intro demo which we gave you on a scale of 5 for so that I can just mark it down and then help me to what you call improve it and feel we can be as blunt as possible. You don't have to hesitate or do should I say this or not. So please feel free and give me your feedback. So Amresh, how do you rate this on a scale of 5?
Mm, five I can give.
Ashwini, Ashwini, you are on mute, Ashwini, if you're talking. Okay, we'll wait for her to come back. Ganesh,
Yeah, obviously 5 Kedar.
Rajesh, you're on mute, Rajesh.
Rajesh has texted Kedarji in the
Okay,
chat.
what did he say? Oh no, I need a rating.
Good, and I'm happy to learn more like that. He put chat actually.
Okay, please put in a rating on a score of 5. Oh, he has already left. Okay, Ratina, can you put in your rating on this one, please? You can put it on chat. And Sudhakar, can you